A mysterious metal sphere falls from the sky, unexplained CCTV footage, and found footage of a demonic possession. These are more disturbing videos that should not exist. This video comes from an American man who was live streaming one night when he saw something plummet to the ground. So he goes to check it out and sees a metal sphere sitting on the ground. As he approaches, he notices a faint humming noise, almost like a drone. Take a listen.
Dude, do you hear that?
Now he leans in, and he does something that is ill-advised, to say the least. He reaches out and cautiously touches the damn thing with his bare hands. And the last thing I'd want to touch is a mysterious metal sphere that dropped out of the sky and is now humming. Luckily, he doesn't get zapped into oblivion though, but he immediately notices how cold this thing is. He grabs a stick and starts prodding at it, which he should have done first. Anyway, he taps on it to see what it's made of, and the thing is solid. As he rolls it around, he realizes the other half is actually warm to the touch. And as he rubs off some dirt, he spots a strange symbol etched into the surface. People watching online started pointing out that it looks a lot like what some call a boogosphere. These are mysterious metal balls that have been showing up all over the world, perfectly smooth, incredibly dense, with weird markings, and nobody really knows what they are. Some say it could be advanced technology of some kind, others think they could be from space, but what are your thoughts? Share them down below. TikToker Jade Gonzalez, also known as KDaddy7772, shared some security footage from the restaurant she works at. It shows something really strange happening while she's cutting some lemons. In the video, she slices through a lemon twice, first splitting it in half and then cutting one of those halves again. After cutting, she goes to put the half into a bag, but then she pauses and she looks confused. When she expects it, she realizes the lemon isn't cut anymore. She ends up having to cut it again to get it back into pieces. Now, some might say, it's possible she didn't slice all the way through the lemon the first time, but according to her, it didn't look cut at all. After the moment she noticed it was like it's totally together again. Watching the footage, you can see the lemon clearly being sliced with separation between the pieces. And somehow, though, it appears to have reformed into a whole lemon. Some viewers have also noticed something else in the video. A yellowish flash around the lemon at the exact moment it seems to come back together. One person commented that after cranking the brightness all the way up and leaning right into the screen, you could see two completely clear halves, a flash, and then suddenly the lemon is whole again. This next clip is honestly terrifying. Even if it's not real, I hope it isn't real, but it's still super unsettling. And if it is real, I don't even want to think about that. The story goes that the tape was found in 1973, tucked away in the attic of a house that someone had just bought in Iowa. It shows a man, his identity unknown, undergoing what looks like a full-blown possession. His movements are completely unpredictable. He makes these horrific, inhuman noises in his body. It looks like there's something trying to burst out from under his skin. Of course, there's plenty of debate over whether it's authentic or just a highly skilled reenactment. I'm just sharing it here so people can decide for themselves, but as a horror fan, I have to admit, this one is pretty effective. In 2015, a very eerie video hit the internet, and it was so strange that people couldn't decide whether the encounter actually happened or if it was all staged. Turns out, it was not a hoax. It was January 28th in Auckland, New Zealand, when a group of film students were shooting at Parnell Railway Station. They noticed a man and woman creeping out of the bushes on the other side of the train tracks. They noticed them immediately because they were wearing white masks, and they were just standing there staring down the students. The students didn't really know what to make of this. Was it a prank, or did the pair of masked weirdos actually have bad intentions? They decided to make their way back to the parking lot, hoping the creepy pair would leave them alone. But they didn't. About 10 minutes later, they noticed they were being followed. They decided to call the police, and armed officers arrived on scene. At one point, there was even a police chopper flying overhead trying to find these two. Seems like a rather extreme response for a call about a pair of people wearing masks, doesn't it? Well, not really. The film students weren't the first ones who called in about this. Other people had seen the couple as well, and the film students didn't realize it at the time, but the pair were armed. Eventually, the masked pair turned themselves in. Police found they were part of a strange Facebook group called the Twins of Atticus. The page has since been taken down, but apparently it was pretty hard to describe. Most of the posts were pretty cryptic. It's A very strange case, and their motives were never made clear. And this has to be one of the strangest UFO videos I've ever seen. There's not a lot of information about this video, but apparently it was filmed somewhere in Cuba. People noticed this bright orange object in the sky, so this man pointed his camera up and zoomed in. At first the thing just looks like a glowing ball, which would already be weird, but then it starts rotating. And it gets even stranger. The object seemingly morphs into what now looks like an aircraft, but the glowing orange part continues rotating at the center. I've really never seen anything like it. But is the footage a hoax? Is it genuine? I'll let you all be the judge. Talk about your workday dragging on. This video comes out of a piñata shop in Mexico. This worker was just minding her own business when suddenly something grabs her leg and violently pulls her into another room. I say something because there's nobody there, and she's being pulled by some kind of unseen force. The shop is owned by a man named Mario Lara, and it's not the first piece of creepy security footage he's posted. I'm sure many of you will recognize this clip. Mario's store has a bit of a reputation now for its paranormal activity. At first, you'd start noticing things were out of place. You'd come in the morning to the shop in total disarray, with piñatas all over the floor. And when it continued happening, he started wondering if someone was sneaking in at night. So he set up a security camera, and that's when he spotted that ghoulish-looking creature poking its head out of the pile of piñatas. It's become a pretty well-known paranormal video online, and even though some people think it's a total hoax, others aren't so sure. This next video comes from Reddit user KitKat9876, who was constantly waking up in the middle of the night feeling like someone was shaking the bed. Eventually, she'd had enough and decided to put up a security camera to see what the hell was going on. And this is what she captured. Now, the video quality ain't great, but you'll notice it looks like there's something under the sheet holding it up, and the sheet goes flat. Doesn't look like her leg though. It's this single vertical section that suddenly disappears, and as if that wasn't weird enough, something that looks a lot like a head pokes out of the sheets. But KitKat was alone that night. Her husband was working out of town. So what exactly did she capture on camera here? I've seen a lot of orb videos online. Most of them don't really do it for me because it usually just looks like light reflecting off dust, but this video is really something else. Take a look. It was posted to Reddit by trash_scientist who said they got a motion alert from their home security camera and decided to check it, expecting the usual, maybe an animal. Instead, they saw this glowing object drifting through the frame. Trash Scientist tried to make sense of it. Their first guess was that it could have been a paper lantern, but the more they watched it, the less that explanation held up. The movement just didn't match. It wasn't floating gently or drifting with the wind. It was moving sharply up, then down, and across, and back up again. It seemed to be changing direction on purpose. The glow coming off the object was also really strong enough to light up the trees behind it in a way that didn't look natural. When the Reddit user got home later, they checked the surrounding yards, expecting to find something, anything that could explain it, but there were no lanterns, no debris, nothing left behind. They also ruled out the obvious stuff. It didn't sound like a drone, the camera picked up no noise at all, and whatever this thing was moving way too close to the trees for that to make sense. And then there was the angle. The neighboring garden sits about a full story lower than theirs, which made it unlikely that it was someone just standing there waving a flashlight around. So what exactly is this bright glowing orb? I can't say. Share your thoughts in the comments. This video was shot somewhere in China. A cat is sitting completely motionless in the middle of the street. So still that people walking by stop in their tracks, pull out their phones, and start filming. At first, it almost looks like someone left a stuffed cat there as a prank. And there's just no way a live animal could stand that still, right? But then another cat wanders and freezes in the exact same way. Both cats are just locked in place. Now, usually cats go still when they're stalking something, but witnesses say there was nothing at all on that stretch of road to explain it. There were no birds, no insects. It's impossible not to wonder what's happening here? Is this some weird glitch in the reality or something? Or are the cats just doing their own inexplicably strange thing? Speaking of freezing in place, in 2023, a TikTok from user unknown1575489 started circulating, and it's easy to see why. The clip shows a woman on a sidewalk. She's not walking though. She's not really standing like a normal person either. She's just frozen mid-step. Cars and people are moving around the frame, but she's just stuck there. And another detail, her hair doesn't move at all. It's one thing to stand really still, but this is another level. But after a few moments, she suddenly resumes walking like nothing happened. The video blew up, racking over 5.5 million views, and thousands of commenters jumped in with their theories. A lot of people joked that she looked like an NPC in a video game. According to the person who posted the clip, she'd apparently been frozen like that for about a minute before the recording even started. What you're looking at here is footage from a CCTV camera in Thailand. The security guards on duty had no idea what they were looking at. A strange object appears to float through the air. Some people immediately assumed it was just a drone, but the guards weren't so sure. At one point, the person filming on the CCTV says the word Penanggalan. For those who don't know, a Penanggalan is a terrifying creature from Malaysian and Indonesian folklore. By day, it looks like an ordinary woman, but at night, her head detaches from her body and flies through the air with her organs hanging beneath her. She hunts for victims, usually pregnant women. While she's out hunting, she hides her body somewhere safe and soaks it in vinegar to prevent her guts from swelling. Folklore says people would hang thorns or broken glass around their homes to catch her if she tried to enter. And if you ever came across her empty body while her head was flying around, you could kill her by burning it or filling it with sharp objects so she couldn't return before sunrise. Pretty gruesome stuff. Thankfully though, there were no reports of anyone being attacked by a flying head at the time this footage was recorded. Although we would have a field day with a new story like that on this channel for a long time. This next clip comes from Saudi Arabia, captured by YouTuber Adventures.Jasm79, who's exploring an abandoned building, wandering through an old crumbling house when he got up to the roof, and that's when something genuinely chilling shows up on camera. As he walks past a clothesline, a small gap between hanging sheets reveals a face. Now, that would already be startling on its own. But this is not a normal face. This person appears to have pure black eyes, and just as suddenly as it appeared, it vanishes. The explorer immediately starts reciting prayers, which is 100% understandable. I think running away would also be a good idea though. Now, because this is happening in Saudi Arabia, a lot of people have suggested it might not just be a ghost. It could be a jinn. Beings from Muslim tradition that can be invisible, change shape, and sometimes even torment or possess humans. Back in 2012, a YouTuber named Chad Logan posted a very eerie video. The clip is just 5 minutes long, shot on what looks like an old 8mm film. Most of the video seems harmless at first, until you get to the woods. The camera follows an old woman walking into the trees. You can see a cloth sack on the ground. The person filming gets close, opens it, and what's inside? Only a disembodied head. It's pretty bone-chilling stuff, and there's no explanation for why it exists or where it came from. There's only one other video on Chad Logan's channel called Bitterroot Photos. In it, he shows a series of old black and white pictures that came with the reel of film. Chad was a student in New York who'd just moved into a studio apartment and needed some furniture. He found a guy on Craigslist selling a bunch of stuff at ridiculously low prices, and they ended up buying a small table along with a bunch of miscellaneous items. One of those items was an old wooden box with a lid that he had to pry open with a screwdriver. Inside were the old photos, each labeled Bitterroot on the back, and a tin can containing that 8mm film. To this day, nobody knows where the film or photos originally came from or who made them. Alan Tutorial uploaded his last video to YouTube about 11 years ago. He began posting content parodying tutorial videos, but as more and more videos went up, the stranger and stranger they got. Early on, the videos are intentionally pointless. He shows things like how to turn mail into a square, how to fill a small bin with dirt. Everything's filmed in a first-person perspective, with Alan frantically speaking behind the camera. It's entertaining if you're into weird, surrealist kind of humor, but soon the tone shifts. The locations start to look more run down, and the videos become harder to follow. The titles stop reading like normal sentences and instead look like random strings of words or file names. and the tutorials, which were already pointless at best, are now completely nonsensical. The final video is titled Tutorial, spelled incorrectly. In this video, Alan is in a dark room filled with garbage. He moves around, talking to himself and repeating the word tutorial. There are brief moments where the camera catches what looks like pieces of raw meat moving or rolling around on the ground, but it's super brief. The camera is never still for more than a millisecond. It's pretty anxiety-inducing. I mean, it's like watching a POV of someone completely losing their mind. I don't know. Was this whole channel just a bizarre art project? Probably. I mean, I certainly hope so. And speaking of unexplained lights, check these out. What exactly are we looking at here? They're not stars. And scrubbing through the video, you'll notice they change position. Some completely disappear and then reappear in other spots in the sky. The footage was posted to Reddit by main_development42, who wrote, "Pilot here. I was flying out west at 36,000 feet near Denver and saw several of these lights appear and disappear. I was wondering if anyone knew what these things are. I asked air traffic control as well, and they have no clue either. This is my second time encountering these lights, and I'm 1000% sure these are not civil nor military." It's always interesting when pilots see something in the sky that they have no explanation for, as, you know, they're up there all the time. Was this woman pushed by a ghost? So this happened in Chile inside a lawyer's office. A woman named Cecilia Carrasco had gone in for a meeting. As she was walking across the room, out of nowhere, she fell backward. Now, it's one thing to lose your footing and slip while you're walking. The strange part was she was totally still when she fell. It comes completely out of nowhere. I mean, how do you just suddenly fall back like that? Looks more like she was shoved. And according to Cecilia, that's how it felt too. Cecilia's first reaction was the same as anyone's would be. She thought someone had pushed her and then taken off, but when she looked around, there was no one. But she could have sworn someone made contact with her. And it was a nasty fall too. She ended up needing medical attention afterward. Before this, Cecilia didn't believe in anything paranormal, but after it happened, that changed pretty quickly. She later said, "Now I'm worried a ghost might be after me. I have no idea why I was shoved over." Ever heard of a haunted laundry room? This clip was posted to TikTok by J Melilo165, who works at a hospital. The security guard had noticed the washing machines acting very strangely, as in moving on their own. So he gathered some staff around to check out the footage, and boy is it weird.
Come look at the second one. Here comes the second.
Now, it should be noted, the security footage that they're watching has been sped up. But still, that is not a subtle shift. That machine totally changes position, and I love the genuine sounding reaction by the staff here. They're laughing. That's how taken aback they are. They cannot believe what they're witnessing, so they're laughing.
Look, here goes.
It happens.
Look.
This does not happen.
Look.
Look.
It's like Robert De Niro and Joker. You're laughing. The laundry room's haunted and you're laughing. Anyway, probably wouldn't be the acting choice most amateur hoaxers would go with, you know, to laugh. Just feels too genuine to me. But anyway, it doesn't end there. Nothing creepier than a doll moving on its own, right? In this TikTok video posted by Luki01, that's exactly what happened. He'd set up a camera to see what his cat was getting up to when he was at work, and he ended up capturing a lot more than he was bargaining for. And that's not some subtle shifting. That doll is waving. The cat notices it too and goes to investigate. And after staring at the doll for a few moments, it topples over. That cat's braver than me, because I would have been halfway across town by that point.
We begin with a chilling case from late 2025 that serves as a warning to every homeowner. A young family in Minnesota was at home when a man in a high visibility vest carrying a branded delivery box approached their front door. The doorbell camera captures him looking calm, checking his clipboard and ringing the bell. When the homeowner opened the door, the delivery driver didn't hand over a package. Instead, the footage shows him dropping the box, which was empty, and pulling a from his waistband while two other masked men sprinted from the side of the house. The most disturbing part of this footage isn't just the violence, it's the premeditation. The camera captures the lead suspect staring directly into the lens seconds before the attack, his expression completely vacant. Police later used this high-resolution footage to track the suspect's vehicle, but the trauma left behind for the family, who were held at and while their home was ransacked, is permanent. Most doorbell camera footage captures package thieves or awkward solicitors, but in late 2025, a family in Alexandria, Virginia caught a real-life attempt that looked like a scene from a horror film. 3 individuals dressed in high-end realistic masks, a distorted clown, a pale nun, and a slasher villain approached the front door of Shayla Whiteside's home. The coordination was what made it so disturbing. They didn't just knock, they began a methodical psychological. The footage shows them screaming, "It's either you come out or we come in," while pounding on the door with enough force to rattle the hinges. Shayla was inside with her elderly mother. The group tormented them for nearly 10 minutes, knowing that they were being recorded in high definition. They even took turns staring directly into the camera lens and laughing. This wasn't a random crime of opportunity, it was a targeted act of terror. The Alexandria Police Department had initially said that those responsible could face criminal charges. It was later revealed though that the 3 masked teens were actually related to the homeowner. The homeowners were believed not to have known who was responsible for the horrifying prank until police told them. The Whitesides have chosen not to press charges on the teens, so the pranksters' identities will remain private. A woman and her relatives had gone to a country house in the middle of nowhere when the paranormal activity started. She pulled out her phone and began filming as something strange began to happen in the living room. The resulting footage is terrifying. In a room with no open windows and no central air turned on, an antique wooden rocking chair begins to move. It doesn't just vibrate, it swings back and forth with incredible momentum, reaching the physical limits of the chair's design. 2 other relatives, including a boy, cower behind a doorway as the rocking picks up in its intensity. The clip was posted to TikTok and it has since been watched 1.1 million times. Now, while many people believe the footage is real, not everyone, however, was convinced that the events had a supernatural explanation. One person pointed out that someone could be moving the chair by hiding behind the window and pulling it with a fishing line. All I know is that rocking chairs are beyond creepy to me. At 2:39 in the morning, a backyard security camera captured something that still hasn't been explained. The camera sits at the far edge of the property, mounted roughly 10 feet up and facing directly into a massive forest that stretches for more than 10,000 acres. There are no streetlights, no cabins, no trails, just miles of dense protected woodland. And on this night, something came walking out of it. In the footage, a tall figure slowly emerges from the darkness of the trees, moving toward the street. What makes it unsettling isn't just where it came from, it's how it moves. The motion is unusually slow and deliberate, almost unnatural. Based on the camera's height and angle, whatever this is would have to stand over 9 feet tall. There are no edits to the clip, no enhancements. This is the raw footage exactly as it was recorded. But it gets even stranger. Shortly after the figure appears, the camera begins picking up unidentified sounds coming from the forest. Low, strange noises that continue for nearly 30 seconds before the recording ends. Watching it back gave the homeowner chills, especially knowing this happened just steps away from their house. This forest rarely sees hunters or hikers because it is heavily protected. So the question remains, what exactly walked out of the woods that night? When people hear strange noises in the middle of the night, they usually blame it on something simple. A gust of wind, a loose object, maybe even a family pet knocking something over. But what one man captured inside his apartment might be a little bit harder to explain. Rusty Johnson, who lives in Fayetteville, North Carolina, says that he came home one evening to find a few things in his kitchen strangely out of place. Curious and a little uneasy, he decided to check the footage from a camera that he had set up inside of his apartment. What he saw left him completely shaken. The video appears to show kitchen items suddenly sliding and falling off the counters on their own. Pieces of paper flutter to the floor. Kitchenware shifts and drops without anyone visible in the room. Rusty says watching the footage back terrified him. He described a strange sensation, almost like something was watching him while he was reviewing the recording. He says that he experienced a powerful and unexplained wave of anger that lasted for nearly half an hour, despite having nothing to be upset about. Rusty had been living in this apartment for almost a year, but he says the strange activity only started about 2 months ago. Now he's seriously considering breaking his lease and moving out. Until then, he plans to keep the cameras rolling, hopefully to capture more evidence of whatever might be inside his home.
If you ever want to get a job where you're likely to encounter paranormal activity, I think a nursing home would be a good choice. This first video comes from Camila Torres on TikTok. She works at a nursing home. Back in 2019, a resident at the home wanted Camila to capture footage of her blessing one of the rooms. Why did the woman think it needed blessing? Well, the room had a reputation. According to Camila, a lot of weird things would happen in this room. Residents had sudden episodes. A number of them passed away in there, and staff would often get chills walking past it. It got to the point where they didn't house anyone in that room anymore. It was simply referred to as the death room. So, a blessing seemed fitting. What Camila captured on camera, though, was downright eerie. Suddenly, the woman's cross swings up into the air, and it doesn't move like it would, with a strong breeze. It looks like someone plucked it up and then let it go. Only there's nobody there, of course. It's just a pitch black room. This insane piece of UAP footage comes out of Paris, where traffic came to a halt with people looking up to try and make sense of what was floating above their heads. It's triangle-shaped with lights on each corner, one flashing in the center. Very strange looking object, but it's not the first triangle-shaped UFO footage to come out of Paris. This next piece of video is even more incredible, but it was captured way back in 2008. Supposedly, this footage stayed buried for about 13 years, quietly suppressed by big tech companies like Google. The footage was recorded in Paris in July of 2008. Story goes the person who filmed it was a military serviceman who chose to stay anonymous. The account that originally posted the clip never uploaded anything else. A lot of people who've looked at the video say it's just CGI, and that's probably the most common explanation, but others argue that the level of detail makes that less probable. The footage looks pretty complex for something that'd just, be thrown on the internet anonymously. I mean, it's not like there's any profit to be made from that. If the footage is real, it appears to be filmed using infrared, specifically the kind where heat shows up as white. The craft also appears to vent steam, and the background doesn't look like a still image. In the distance, there's what appears to be an industrial facility, and the steam rising from it seems to move naturally. Now, does this mean the footage is 100% definitely real? No, it could be hoaxed, but if so, it's very well done. And this object may be more than just a random UFO though. A lot of commenters think it's specifically TR-3B, which is a rumored secret triangular aircraft supposedly developed by the US military. Reports usually describe a large black triangle with lights on each corner and sometimes a glowing circle in the center, moving slowly and almost silently through the sky. The name started appearing in the 90s in discussions about classified aerospace projects, but in those videos, that's basically exactly what the thing looks like. Don't you hate it when your pet will suddenly just stare off at a wall or some random corner in the room for seemingly no reason, frozen in place, visibly concerned and unsettled? It's eerie without a doubt, but this next story takes that to a whole other level. If I woke up at 3 a.m. to find my dog sitting at the top of the stairway staring motionless like this, I'd be moving out of there within the week. This clip comes from VideoChica89 on Instagram. She said she'd been hearing strange sounds at night coming from the stairs, so she set up a nanny cam one night. When she looked over the footage the next morning, a shiver went up her spine. Her dog had sat there staring like that for over 4 hours. And what was he looking at? What was he hearing? She had no idea. But apparently since that night, he's been refusing to use those stairs. This is a rather infamous clip, especially in Thailand. A Thai news station even covered this. It comes from the early days of the internet, back when the internet was a lot creepier, in my opinion. But don't be alarmed by the potato quality of the video. Some people believe a ghost appeared on camera at this small party in Thailand. It looks like the kind of video you'd see posted on Facebook back in the day, just a group of teenagers hanging out. But you'll notice throughout this video, one person has been circled in red, and that's because there's an eerie story connected to him. The guy seen in the circle had been on his motorcycle when he was struck by a pickup truck. He died at the scene. The thing is, that crash happened before he ever made it to the gathering. Nobody found out he died until later. As far as anyone at the party knew, he just never showed up. That's right, they did not see the man circled in red at the time. It was only when they watched the footage that they noticed what could only be described as the spirit of their friend hanging out with the rest of the group. Some believe it was his ghost who drifted to the party after the accident, not realizing that he died.
For more than 10 years, one homeowner says something strange has been happening at the small playground behind their house. From the kitchen sink window, they have a clear view of the park, especially the swing set. And every so often, one particular swing starts moving on its own. not swaying lightly in the breeze, but swinging back and forth at a steady pace. According to the homeowner, it can go on for 5 minutes, sometimes even longer. There have been times when they checked on it again an hour later and the swing was still moving at almost the exact same speed. At first it seemed easy to blame the wind, but after watching it for years they noticed something odd. On windy days, both swings move slightly together, yet on calm days with no breeze at all, only one swing begins moving. And the park itself? It's well maintained, frequently used, and surrounded by daycares, which makes the empty, laughing swing feel even more unsettling. Late one night at 1:32 a.m., a homeowner received a motion alert from their security camera. They were still awake in bed when the notification popped up, so naturally they checked the footage right away. What they saw immediately made them uneasy. The camera, which monitors the hallway inside the house, appears to capture a blurry figure moving through the frame. The shape is hard to make out clearly, but it definitely looks like something or someone passing through the hallway. The strange part? The homeowner says that they didn't hear a single sound. No footsteps, no doors opening, nothing at all. And they live completely alone. To make things even more unsettling, they had just moved into the house a week earlier, and for the past 9 days they say that they had felt a strange presence in the home, an uneasy feeling that something wasn't quite right. Then this appeared on camera. Convinced the house might be haunted, the homeowners shared the images online asking what they should do next, but not everyone in the discussion was convinced that it was paranormal. Some users suggested a more logical possibility, that the blurry figure might actually be a squatter hiding somewhere in the home, because before assuming something supernatural, it might be worth ruling out something far more real and far more dangerous. A peaceful evening in Las Vegas turns into a silent nightmare as two intruders slip into a home while the owners sleep just feet away. In September 2017, near Las Vegas, Nevada, surveillance footage captured two men climbing over a back wall into the backyard of a residence. They approached an unlocked back door and quietly slide it open to enter the interior. The video shows them creeping through the kitchen area, carefully avoiding noise as they search for items. They steal multiple valuables, one of which includes a purse lying nearby. Throughout the footage, the homeowners remain asleep on the living room couch, oblivious to the presence of the intruders who walk mere feet away from them. The men move with caution, indicating that they are aware of the occupants but proceed anyways. After gathering what they can, they exit the same way that they entered. The homeowners discovered the theft later and reviewed the footage, which was shared with police. Despite investigations, the two burglars have never been identified or apprehended. On January 1st, 2026, shortly after midnight in Bermuda, Ring doorbell camera footage captured three individuals approaching the front door of a residence under the cover of darkness. The video shows them huddling together, testing the doorknob, and then attempting to pry or force the door open with what appears to be tools or brute strength. The footage includes close-up views of their masked or hooded figures lingering on the porch, shaking the handle repeatedly and pushing against the door frame. The suspects seemed coordinated, one keeping watch while the others work on entry, but the reinforced door holds and they eventually abandon the attempt and flee the property after several minutes of failed efforts. The homeowners, likely alerted by the camera notifications or noise, remain safe inside without confrontation. Police in Bermuda reviewed the clear footage as part of their investigation into a string of similar incidents involving Ring cameras capturing criminals, though the suspects were not immediately identified in public reports. At an unspecified date in New Jersey, camera footage from a phone or internal security system shows an unknown man entering the first floor of a two-story home during the night. The video captures him walking through the living area, searching drawers and rooms for valuables. He picks up items including the homeowner's purse and carries them as he moves methodically. Upstairs, the mother and her two daughters, alerted by the noise, barricade themselves in a bathroom and call the police. The footage does not show him ascending the stairs as he remains on the lower level throughout. Police arrive after he has already fled, finding the home ransacked but the family safe. The intruder was never identified, and his exact intentions, whether theft or something more harmful, are unclear.
Dan Bell is a well-known urban explorer on YouTube, and he's had his fair share of creepy encounters. This one happened inside an abandoned children's asylum. I don't care who you are, or what your views are on the supernatural, you're gonna be creeped out walking through a place like this, especially alone. Well, as Dan was filming, he kept getting the feeling of being watched. It may have been nerves, but after posting his video to YouTube, a commenter noticed something. See if you can spot it yourself. Did you notice anything? Let's slow that clip down. Keep your eye on the door. In the hole where the door handle should be, you see a shadow move away from behind. Clearly someone, or maybe something, was looking at him through that tiny gap. A little later into the video, he heads upstairs, examining some suspicious looking red stains on the floor, and that's when he hears something. A muffled voice is heard from another room. He doesn't stick around long after that. He gets a bit more footage of some of the other rooms and then makes his way out. Next up, a group of urban explorers runs into something they absolutely were not expecting. The YouTube channel Back in Time MC uploaded a video where they thought they were just checking out a totally abandoned farmhouse. Honestly, you can see why they assumed that. The place looks like it's barely holding together. There's trash everywhere, the walls are filthy, dirt is in every corner. It's the kind of house where it feels like one wrong step might send the whole thing collapsing. They're moving through the rooms, just filming the decay, when they step into a bedroom. Out of nowhere, an elderly woman suddenly pops out from under the nastiest, most beat up bed you can imagine. The cameraman completely freezes and blurts out, "You're alive."
Oh my god. Hello. You're alive. No, man.
They end up talking with her for a little bit, and it turns out she'd been living there alone for years. Back in 2011, three friends, Tim, Ben, and John, decided to explore an abandoned house in the woods near where they lived. There have been creepy stories about the place for years. There was an urban legend about it being used for black magic and dark rituals. A lot of people simply referred to it as the Satanic House. Over the years, people claimed to find dead animals, strange artifacts, and other unsettling things inside. The friends decided to go in at night, filming their exploration. Not long after stepping inside, they came across this.
Whoa. John, what degree are you stepping on?
Oh my god.
Okay, well.
A huge pentagram had been painted on the floor. On the walls, they also found all sorts of strange symbols. Then they went to the basement, where there was this awful smell. There were also what looked like dolls hanging from long strings on the ceiling.
Guys, this smell is terrible. I'm gonna throw.
One of the guys started vomiting from how bad the smell was down there. And that's when they heard noises coming from upstairs, followed by this. The guys panicked. Tim and Ben managed to bolt from the house screaming, but someone or something grabbed John, trying to pull him back inside. You can't really see anything at this point, but you do hear John screaming, pure terror in his voice.
What's happening? Get off! What's going on? Hang on. John?
Thankfully, they managed to retrieve him though, and they drove the hell out of there. Urban explorer CJ Faison, along with his friend Mo, decided to explore an abandoned farmhouse late at night in Virginia. What made this place especially disturbing was who it belonged to. Farmhouse used to be owned by Ray Copeland, a convicted serial killer who was arrested in the 90s for taking the lives of 5 people. CJ and Mo went in fully aware of the house's history. For most of the video, things are pretty calm. Eerie given the context, but calm. While exploring the upper floor of a section, CJ's buddy sees something, a shadow figure.
What? For real? Please be kidding me.
They're slightly on edge at this point, but they decide to keep looking around, and then they hear this.
What the? Let's jump.
Apparently Scorpion from Mortal Kombat showed up at the farm. Get over here! Except, get out of here! The voice came from the stairs leading to the lower floor, so whoever that angry guy was between them and the exit. The only other way down was to jump, which they debated for a little bit. Eerily though, they didn't actually see anyone. Clearly there was a voice, but they had no idea who it came from. Eventually they make it back outside when something spooks them, and they take off running. We've all seen videos of cats and dogs standing completely still for a long stretch of time, but this is really something else. Posted to the TikTok account Noel the Lamb, this video shows 4 horses standing in their pen completely and utterly frozen in place. I mean, if it weren't for the rain and the horses' tails slightly blowing the breeze, I'd think this was just a still image. The farmer thinks it's a glitch in the Matrix, and being that she's with these animals day in and day out, I feel like she must be a pretty good judge of what's weird behavior with the animals and what isn't. And there's some interesting comments on this video that add another unsettling layer to the whole thing, like this one. When animals act out of character, I definitely watch more closely to my surroundings. They are the first to know about any bad weather or threats. And this one from Boho Mama, who writes, "A horse appearing frozen is often a normal and natural behavior, reflecting a combination of resting, vigilance, and responses to their environment or perceived threats." Threats seems to come up a lot in this comment section, which of course makes me wonder, was something skulking around the farm that day? I mean, what exactly were those horses reacting to? Anyway, what do you all think? Leave your comments down below. This next video comes out of Ciudad Juarez in Mexico in 2014. The footage was captured by a parent filming their kid's baseball game. Now, supposedly, nobody saw anything odd at the time, but looking back at the footage later, the parent noticed this odd figure standing out in the field. See that weird, I guess, cloaked looking thing? Yeah, nobody had seen it with their naked eye, and it looks to be flashing, almost like there's electricity moving through it. It's incredibly weird. Someone made some pretty bold claims, saying it's an interdimensional being or an alien cloaking itself. I have absolutely no idea what to make of this thing, but it is definitely strange. And this next video makes me want to shut my mouth, close my eyes, and cover my ears, because this is just an ungodly amount of insects. This clip comes out of Hunan, China. Good reminder to never take a trip there, I guess. I mean, holy crap. I'd think the world was ending. I mean, imagine just taking one of those electric fly swatters and just wading through that mess. I mean, the thing would probably catch fire. And this last clip comes out of Yemen. It's around 2 in the morning. A guy's sitting behind the counter in his small shop when a woman suddenly walks in. Right away, something about her seems off. She's extremely pale, for one. The way she carries herself is a little unsettling. Now, being pale on its own, it's not that unusual. I mean, just look at me. But the interaction quickly gets strange. The woman asks the man why he's listening to the Quran. Then she moves closer to him, really close. She steps right into his personal space, close enough that the man visibly leans back in his chair, clearly uncomfortable. And that's when she tells him, "Don't be afraid, I'm an angel." After that, she turns as if she's about to leave, but then suddenly stops and asks the man a question. "Who passed away?" The man looks confused and tells her that nobody's died. The woman asks the same question again, though, almost like she doesn't believe him. He gives the same answer, though. Nobody. Before leaving, she also asks him for some money, but the man tells her he doesn't have anything to give her. Eventually, she walks out of the store. Now, at first glance, this just sounds like a strange late-night encounter. I mean, 2 a.m. at a small corner store, odd people coming in is not exactly unheard of, but according to this store owner, there was one last detail that really disturbed him. When he looked down, he said the woman's feet didn't look normal. He claimed they looked like horse hooves. So the question is, who, or possibly what, actually walked into that store that night? This next video comes from urban explorer Usaf Ahmadi. He and his pals decided to explore an abandoned school. There were rumors about the place being haunted, so they decided to check things out for themselves. Among all the standard stuff you find, abandoned buildings like broken windows and paint peeling from walls, old chairs, etc., they came across something a lot more unsettling. Bullets, lots of them. They were scattered throughout the school, and there were lots of different types. Not the most comforting thing to find in a rundown place like this. At night, just when they thought things couldn't get any creepier, this happens. A dark, shadowy figure quickly walks across the hallway in front of them, and for a few seconds, they just stand there frozen. Continue for the sake of content, or leave? Well, content it is. Usaf calls out the person.
So, are you an explorer?
After a few seconds, the tense silence is immediately broken by this.
Actually, don't go anymore.
Next up, this group of explorers from the YouTube channel Yes Theory decided to explore Penhurst State School and Hospital, one of the most infamous abandoned asylums in the United States. The place opened in 1908 and was closed decades later. It's become rather infamous for reports of paranormal activity. As they were filming inside, they set up REM machines, which are devices that beep when there's a break in the magnetic field. Almost immediately, the machines started going off, especially near a closed door. Things got even creepier in the basement, where they found dozens of dolls with ominous red eyes sitting in the darkness. By the end of their exploration, it was clear this place wasn't just spooky because it was abandoned, but the sounds, the eerie dolls, the overwhelming sense of dread seeping out of the place. It made for one of the most unnerving urban exploration experiences the group ever had. Chris Hill is known for filming his urban explorations with an infrared camera, which sometimes shows things you wouldn't normally catch with the naked eye. And that was certainly the case here. Take a look at this. Not only does he get a scare from the loud thud, but while reviewing the footage recorded by the thermal cam later, he noticed this odd misty shape floating through the place. And though Chris didn't see anything at the time, he obviously felt something. And continuing on, take a look at the left-hand side of the frame. You see the thing floating around in the next room, right by the archway. Next up, we have a really unusual urban exploration discovery from Glasgow, Scotland. Explorer found an entire forgotten world beneath Argyle Street, one of the city's busiest shopping roads. The explorer Mitchell Kelly came across hidden tunnels and rooms that had been sealed off and unused for decades, places that few people walking above would ever guess existed. Kelly said he found the entrance almost by accident, spotting a small access hole and crawling through it to get under the street. Once inside, he saw long, dark corridors, bricked up sections of tunnel, and abandoned rooms that hadn't been touched in years. The place was undeniably creepy. I mean, just look at it. But it's also fascinating. Scattered on the floor were old rusted keys, oil tins, gloves, and forgotten tools. These tunnels are thought to be connected to an old railway line and parts of a neighborhood that was demolished all the way back in the 1800s. In Milwaukee, a YouTuber named Matthew Nunez was wandering around an old abandoned church one evening in August 2022, just filming like he usually does. The place was sketchy as hell with peeling paint and broken windows. He was exploring the upper floors, thinking he'd catch some cool urban decay shots, and he did, but he also stumbled across something way more shocking than a creepy pew or a busted chandelier. In a tiny bedroom lying in a corner was a human body. The person was not moving. Nunez called the cops immediately. The body was old enough that it was mostly skeletonized, but there were still clues, a few rings on the fingers, some tattoos. Whoever this was, they'd been left there a long time ago. Eventually, investigators identified the man as 32-year-old Michael Christopher Day, a local man who'd been missing. As for how he died, there were no obvious signs. Nunez never released the footage. If I were to tell you there was a mysterious figure in this image, what would you think I was talking about? I mean, you'd probably start scanning all the dark, shadowy areas, trying to pick out some vaguely human shape lurking in the corner, but no, the mysterious figure is actually the person right in the middle of the frame. Yeah, nobody knows who that is. This image was posted to Reddit by Defend Aloha. It comes from a friend of his named Kimberly. One night in August of 2019, Kimberly came home sometime between 1 and 2 in the morning. She was gonna head upstairs to let her dad know she was home, but then she heard a strange noise. She quickly checked the main floor before going upstairs. Everything seemed quiet, but the moment she reached the top of the stairs, the home alarm system went off. Her phone lit up with a warning saying an intrusion had been detected. Her dad rushed out of his bedroom and tried to get the rest of the family into one upstairs room while he checked the house. Room by room, everything looked normal until he opened the door leading into the garage. The garage door to the outside was wide open. Around the same time, Vivint, the security company, called to check if the family was safe. And since no one was found inside the house and there was no immediate threat, they ended the call. But then another alert came through. The security camera in the living room had detected movement and sent a notification including a video clip. This was the thumbnail. The problem was, when they played the actual video, there was nothing there. They scrubbed through frame by frame. It was just an empty room the entire time. The figure only shows up in that thumbnail. And no, it wasn't Kimberly. She wasn't wearing anything close to what the figure appeared to have on, and it certainly wasn't her dad. So just who or what the hell was creeping around their house that night? This next clip was posted to Reddit by Gabber Flasm, who said the footage was sent to him from his mom's security camera. Watch the trees in the background here. Figure walks through the forested area behind the property and seemingly vanishes after crouching down. The Redditor said it's his brother in the video, and that he never heard or saw anyone at the time. And no nearby neighbors would be walking on the property like that either. And even if this was some stranger skulking through the forest, what's the explanation for them disappearing like that? This next video comes from the YouTube channel Aloha Treasures. So this woman has security cameras on the inside and outside of her home, and said that strange things had been going on lately. She'd been seeing things in the house, but she got confirmation one day when she saw a mysterious shadowy figure show up on the living room camera, standing in a doorway. So she jokes about how it could be her ex-husband breaking into her house, but I mean, yeah, it could be though. I mean, this is not a case of a bug on the lens or like dust floating around creating what looks like a shadowy shape. No, someone is definitely in that room. Ever seen a car accident involving a ghost? Well, you're about to. So these guys were cruising through the parking lot when something runs out in front of the car. A dark, shadowy shape. And this has nothing to do with the camera because the car stops and two people get out thinking they've hit something. Clearly they saw what the camera picked up. They look all over though, but find no signs of an injured animal or anything like that. Whatever the thing was, it wasn't there anymore. Reddit user 1ondo1ants posted this next clip. His motion-activated security camera picked up someone or something seemingly floating into his house. Luckily, there was no sign of an intruder though. In fact, those sliding doors by the back deck, they were always closed and locked up at night. So his mind was partially at ease, but not entirely. What the hell was captured on camera here? It looks like it floats right through the glass. The footage left him pretty shaken up, and he doesn't really like thinking about it. His grandmother had died just months before this was captured, and his mom thought it was her watching over them. I don't have much context for this next clip. Apparently it's CCTV footage captured at a school though. It's hard to spot at first, but keep your eyes on the second floor. A dark figure dashes across the walkway at a pretty decent clip too. It's semi-translucent and impossible to make out any features. Is it just a case of poor quality camera, or is something more mysterious going on here? What are all your thoughts? Leave your comments down below. In 1999, in the small town of Elephant Butte, New Mexico, a woman named Cynthia Vigil managed to escape from a semi-trailer wearing nothing but a padlocked metal collar. This led police to the home of David Parker Ray, and what they found inside that trailer, which he nicknamed his toy box, is the stuff of actual nightmares. He'd spent over $100,000 soundproofing this space and filling it with surgical tools, various restraints, and an array of electronics. Among the items seized was a tape. Ray had recorded a lengthy audio-visual orientation for his victims. The idea was that when his female victims regained consciousness in the trailer, he would play this tape for them, and the voice on the tape is terrifyingly calm and clinical. He talks to the victim as if he's a teacher or a supervisor explaining the rules of their captivity, going into detail about what he expects from them and exactly what he plans to do to them if they don't comply. Investigators who listened to the full recording described it as one of the most cold-blooded things they'd ever heard. Ray died of a heart attack shortly after his conviction, so he never revealed the full extent of his crimes, but police believe there were far more victims than he admitted to. In 2019, a video started circulating on YouTube in various dark corners of the web with the cryptic title 1444. The video shows a young man named Gleb Goroblev sitting on a couch. Goroblev speaks to the camera for a few moments in Russian. What happened next in the video is something I can't describe in detail here, but it resulted in his death on camera. The reason this became such a massive mystery is that for a long time, nobody knew who he was or where the footage came from. People started calling it a cursed tape, claiming that if you watched it, you had to leave the date of your viewing in the comments or face a similar fate. Now, obviously this video is not actually cursed, it's just incredibly upsetting, but the way it was discovered and shared made it one of the most infamous pieces of found footage in recent internet history. And please, don't watch this video. It's something you can't unsee. Let's move away from the grim reality of things for a second to talk about something more in the mysterious eerie lane. The Agamemnon counterpart. Story goes that sometime around 1995, a damaged VHS tape was found inside an abandoned gas station in Haworth, Oklahoma. The label on it read Agamemnon counterpart. No one knows who made it or why it was left there, but the police who claimed to have watched it all described the same thing. The tape was disconcerting. Starts like a normal commercial tape with a basic legal warning. The footage looks worn out and unstable. And then it shifts into something that looks like an old children's program from maybe the 60s, full of bright colors, strange looping music. You see this cartoon character with oversized gloves for feet, morphing and wobbling. Text on the screen reads, "Let's make a new friend." A speech bubble pops up with a single letter, then vanishes, and there's this loud, piercing scream that cuts through the music. It's basically impossible to describe. What we're seeing. Just watch it. It's a very loud, overstimulating, stressful piece of video, and there's a little internet urban legend that the screaming is taken from a Japanese tape that was found close to the remains of a deceased woman who died at the hands of two men. Certainly hope that's not the case, but it definitely adds to how unsettling a watch this is. Now, calling the Paris Catacombs an abandoned home is a bit of a stretch, but this is definitely one of the creepiest found footage tapes in existence, aside from criminal stuff, obviously. This camcorder recording was found deep in the Paris Catacombs, showing a man who may have never come back. According to the usual versions of the story, a group of underground explorers found an old camcorder abandoned in the maze of tunnels. On the tape was a first-person recording of a man walking through the corridor, seemingly confident at first, until he clearly gets lost and begins to panic. His breathing gets heavier, the camera shakes as he starts to run, and it ends with the camera falling to the ground and filming the empty tunnels beyond as the man runs into the darkness. Most versions of the story say the tape came from the early 90s, supposedly found years later by people exploring the catacombs, then eventually shown on TV. Nobody ever figured out who he was, and he was never found. This next story comes from a now deleted Reddit user who wrote, "Not sure if this is the right place to post this, but I don't really know where else it fits. I am not going to share the video itself, and I was specifically asked not to, so please don't ask for it. A few weeks ago, a friend and I were exploring an abandoned house outside of town. It had been empty for years, windows boarded up, no power, nothing unusual beyond the usual trashed rooms and old furniture. In one of the bedrooms, there was a cardboard box shoved into a closet. Inside were some clothes, old mail from the late 90s, and a single VHS tape with no label. No VCR in the house. Out of curiosity, I took it home and played it on an old combo TV I still have. The video looks like it was recorded inside the same house, or at least a very similar one. It starts off boring, someone walking room to room, filming walls, floors, nothing exciting. About halfway through, things change though. The person filming starts breathing heavier and keeps checking behind them, like they're reacting to something off camera. There's a moment where the camera catches something in a doorway that I can't really explain, and after the filming becomes erratic. I'm not going to describe the rest in detail, but it crossed a line from creepy into something that felt wrong to watch. Not staged, not like a movie. I ended up bringing the tape to the police. They took it seriously enough to keep it, asked where I found it, and told me not to upload or share the footage online. That's all I can say about that. I don't know if the tape is connected to anything criminal or if it's just a messed up home video, but I haven't been able to stop thinking about it since. Posting this mainly to get it off my chest. One morning at Wellington Indoor Market in Telford, England, workers showed up and immediately knew something was off. Boxes were scattered everywhere, across the floor and down the stairs. The first thought was that someone must have broken in overnight, so they pulled up the security footage expecting to see a person. What they got instead was a bit harder to explain. They watched as boxes suddenly tipped over and tumbled down the stairs. If you really focus, there is also a dark, shadowy shape moving up the staircase right before it happens. It's faint, but it's there, and what made it harder to brush off is that the market has been around since 1244 and already has a reputation for odd stuff. Staff have said they'll sometimes see strange shadows when working alone, and that one time, 2 people heard coughing in another part of the building only to find it completely empty. Doors slamming and hand dryers turning on by themselves have also been reported. Did you see that ghostly shape move across the field in the background? Nobody noticed it until they played the footage back later. This clip was posted to Reddit by a user named Elizabeth Greengirl88, titled, "Captured a spirit walking behind my husband on a security camera." After people started asking questions, Elizabeth jumped in and explained a few things. The footage came from a security camera that sends alerts to their phone whenever it detects movement. At the time, they were out in their farmland, not near a road or other houses. She said neither of them smokes, and there wasn't a fire going on, so smoke doesn't really make sense, and honestly, it doesn't really look like smoke anyway. They don't have pets, and no one else was around when this was recorded, at least not that they know. She also mentioned that an older man used to live on the land before they moved in, and he'd passed away prior to them buying the property. In 2023, a restaurant in Portsmouth, New Hampshire ended up with a story it didn't expect after its alarm system went off late at night. The place was the Library Restaurant, which sits inside the old Rockingham Hotel, a building that's had a reputation for ghost stories for a long time. After the alarms were triggered, the restaurant shared security footage on Facebook showing what they believed caused it. A few seconds into the video, a white misty-looking shape floats across the frame. Not long after that, police are seen in responding to the alarm. What made it strange was that the motion detectors that went off were inside the building, even though the movement was only seen outside. In their post, the restaurant explained, "Our building, the Rockingham, is well known for its ghosts, and notably the ones in the library basement. Last night, for the very first time, our motion detector alarms inside the building were set off by this camera motion, caught on video in the dead of night outside the window. The motion detectors inside cannot see what the camera outside sees. It is not lights from the car, because you can see how others are picked up, and there is no horizontal wind blowing, so what can this be? Make of it what you will, but this has never happened before." I don't know where this last clip originally comes from. Seems to be CCTV footage from a cafeteria or maybe a party room, but it is pretty odd. So the room is totally dark and empty, but then the door behind the bar lights up. A figure is standing by it. At first I thought it was just someone opening the door and walking in, but it doesn't quite look like that. I mean, I slowed the clip down and watched it again, and it's almost instantaneous. The door doesn't appear to swing open. Suddenly, there's just this figure standing there, surrounded by light. But it could definitely just be a case of bad camera quality, making it tough to figure out exactly what's going on, but the video continues. The figure moves its way behind the bar, and you notice it's not totally solid. It's this vague kind of white shape. And then the lights flick on, and the figure just isn't there anymore. And someone else walks into the room. They walk behind the bar and don't miss a step. I mean, if someone had crouched down behind there, the person would have noticed them. They certainly wouldn't just walk by like that. I don't know, it's a strange video. So this one's infuriating. Just earlier this month in Evansville, Indiana, a man and his wife ordered food through DoorDash. Nothing seemed off until after they ate. Both of them started vomiting and felt intense burning in their mouths, throats, noses, and stomachs. Thankfully, they had a doorbell camera, so they checked it. The footage showed their miserable-looking DoorDash driver placing the food on the porch. Before walking away, she pulled out a small aerosol can attached to her keychain, sprayed something directly onto the food. That driver was later identified as 29-year-old Courtney Stevenson. When investigators questioned her, Stevenson said she used pepper spray, but claimed she was trying to kill a spider. And yeah, they didn't fall for that, especially because it was 35 degrees Fahrenheit that night. At that temperature, spiders in Indiana aren't known to be very active. The man who ordered the food, Mark Carden, later said, "It's horrific to think about all the other ways our food could have been messed with. It could have had rat poison, it could have been fentanyl, my wife could have been dead. Stevenson was arrested and charged with felony battery and consumer product tampering. This happened on December 12th in Hayward, California. Crews were working on a street in a quiet neighborhood when they hit a gas line. Gas ignited, and suddenly there was a huge explosion that shook the entire block. People nearby didn't know what was happening at first. All of a sudden, their houses were shaking and things were falling off the walls. The homeowner with this doorbell camera, Brittany Malandano, said the explosion hit without warning. We were sitting in the house and everything shook, she said. Objects fell off the walls, and when they checked the doorbell footage, she said it felt like watching a war video. 6 people were injured in the blast. 3 were listed in serious condition. Investigators later confirmed the cause was a gas line explosion. The explosion damaged 2 homes and a nearby workshop, and more than 75 firefighters rushed to the scene to battle the flames. This next piece of creepy doorbell camera footage comes from Booby Doom on TikTok, who'd been out with her husband at dinner, and they got a notification from their camera. A woman was standing on their lawn, staring at the house. This would be weird any night, but look at the constant lightning in the sky. Not a great night to be roaming around creeping on people's homes, so they called the babysitter and told her to go to the master bedroom and lock herself in the bathroom. But that, nothing was wrong. It was just a precaution. Yeah, that's comforting. Hey, no need to worry or anything, but dear God, lock yourself away. No reason. The woman rushes to the door and she's holding something wrapped up in blankets. Luckily, it's just a doll, but that means she was using it to try and persuade people into letting her into their homes for who knows what reason. This incident happened on March 27th in Deptford, southeast London. A woman in her 40s was returning home shortly after 7 p.m. She walked down a flight of steps to her front door, carrying a backpack and a handbag. She fumbled through her bag for her keys when a hooded man dressed in black with his face covered appeared behind her. The man grabbed her while wielding a blade. Police were notified about 10 minutes after the incident. A spokesperson for the Metropolitan Police said at around 7:15 p.m. on Thursday, 27th of March, police received reports of an incident outside an address in Deptford. A woman in her 40s was approached and threatened with a blade outside her home. Officers attended the scene and spoke with the victim, who wasn't injured. So, could have been much worse, but as of the latest update, no arrests have been made. This one comes from Wisconsin just back in November. It was just after 1 a.m. when a Ring camera picked up a group of 6 hooded teenagers who walked up to a parked car in a quiet residential street. They stood around for a bit, and once the street was clear, they threw a large stone, smashing the car's window. Seconds later, the same person lit an object on fire and tossed it straight into the passenger seat. Of course, flames started spreading. The group suddenly panicked. One ran off immediately while the others awkwardly threw random objects at the car. Moments later, it just erupts into a massive fireball. The alarm starts blaring, lighting up the entire street. A neighbor runs into frame and frantically presses the doorbell, trying to wake the homeowner as the fire grows out of control. The person who posted the footage later wrote, "Thank God it wasn't my car. My Benz was parked right in front of it, and my Hummer across the street." As of now, it's unclear whether the attack was targeted or random, or if any arrests were made. In May 2024, researchers from the University of Western Australia and Kelpie Geosciences dropped a baited camera into the Samoan Passage, north of Samoa. But as the camera was sinking, something attacked it. It was a Dana octopus squid, one of the most elusive squid species on Earth. Heather Stewart, a professor at the University of Western Australia, was reviewing the footage when she realized what they'd captured. The squid, which was about 75 centimeters long, descended on our camera, assuming it was prey, and tried to startle it with its huge bioluminescent headlights, she said. The Dana octopus squid has glowing spots called photophores at the tips of its 2 arms. They're about the size of lemons, actually the biggest photophores of any animal. Each one has a black eyelid-like covering that the squid can open and close to control the light. The lights are designed to disorient prey when hunting, and probably also for communication. Seeing these squids alive on camera is incredibly rare. Most of what we know comes from animals that washed up on shore, got caught by accident, or were found in whale stomachs. Professor Alan Jameson, again director of the Deep Sea Research Center, said the rarity of live observations of these amazing animals makes every encounter valuable in gathering information on geographic locations, depths, and behavior. Plus, It's such a unique animal that we hardly ever get to see. In 2024, YouTuber and scuba diver Barney Dillerstone sent a baited camera rig 200 meters down in the Bali Sea off Indonesia. He was filming at night to see what would come out in the deep water after dark. Over 2 nights, he captured conger eels, nautiluses, moray eels, duck-billed eels, spider crabs, and carrier crabs, but during the second night, something showed up on camera that he didn't recognize, a ray-like creature that glided past the bait. He identified it as a stingery, a type of small, rounded ray typically found off the eastern coast of Australia, but stingeries aren't supposed to be in Indonesia. Dillerstone explained that only 2 stingery species have ever been recorded near Indonesia: the Java stingery, which is considered extinct, and the Kai stingery, which has only been documented from 2 juvenile specimens caught off eastern Indonesia decades ago. So he sent the footage to marine biologists and nobody knew what the hell it was. And this insane footage comes from 2019. That massive thing writhing in the sand is a blunt-nosed 6-gill shark. According to Ocean X, hundreds of meters below the surface lurks a predator older than the dinosaurs and bigger on average than the great white. This is the story of a group of scientists who came together to achieve the unthinkable, tagging the cryptic blunt-nosed 6-gill shark in its natural environment using a submarine. And that's not an exaggeration. The blunt-nosed 6-gill shark is a species rarely seen by humans. Most are around 15 to 16 feet long, but some grow up to 18 feet, putting them in the same size range as the largest great whites. OceanX later confirmed that during this dive, scientists were able to tag the shark directly from a submersible for the first time ever. Before this, tagging these sharks meant having to bring them all the way up to the surface. In March 2025, scientists aboard the research vessel Falkor 2 filmed something that had never been seen before, at least not alive in its habitat: a colossal squid swimming in its natural environment. That's never happened before. The squid was a young one, about 30 centimeters long, near the South Sandwich Islands in the South Atlantic. The footage came from the remotely operated vehicle Sub-Bastion during a 35-day expedition looking for new marine life. And the timing couldn't be better, because 2025 marks exactly 100 years since the colossal squid was first identified and named. So for an entire century, scientists mostly knew this animal from leftovers, beaks found in whale stomachs, torn pieces pulled up by fishing boats. So seeing one swimming around in its natural habitat was pretty incredible. Reddit user Navy_Beans shared this next clip, writing, "Had an unexpected visitor on the property. All the properties up here are 3+ acres on a mountain, kilometers away from the city." So out of the darkness, we see the undeniable silhouette of a man making his way down the gravel road outside Navy Bean's home. Turns out he's nude, so that's great. He walks up to the property, skulks around a bit. He goes for the door at one point, which was thankfully locked, then makes his way back into the shadows where he belongs, hopefully to a place with pants and a shirt. Charby11 shared this next creepy encounter on TikTok. It was 4 a.m. when this strange woman slowly made her way to the door and rang the doorbell. Instead of standing and waiting to see if anyone could answer though, she just turns and slowly walks away, further and further until she's totally out of view. Actually, kind of looks like she vanishes. Strange indeed, and what makes it worse is how cold it obviously is. She's wrapped in blankets, you can see her breath. It's a chilly night, so what was this lady doing walking around ringing random people's doorbells? She wasn't even asking for help or anything. Can't say I've ever seen anything quite like this next one. It happened in Colombia. A man walks into this house, you can hear voices inside. Sounds like maybe a party's going on. The door stays open for a while. Seems like the guy's standing in the doorway maybe, greeting people. As the door finally starts to close though, something flies toward it. I mean, your brain can't even comprehend what the hell you just watched. And what was that? It looks like an orb flew at the door. Kind of looks like a baseball at first, but it doesn't move in a straight line. It kind of like whips around. Apparently the guy needed like 24 stitches. This happened in Carlton, just north of Dallas, Texas, on a Saturday evening around 8 p.m. A couple had gone out for dinner and stopped to buy a Powerball ticket. While they were out, someone showed up at their door. A dude wearing a devil mask appeared on the porch. He rang the doorbell while holding up a cardboard sign that read Revelation chapter 20, verses 1 through 15. After waiting a few seconds with no response, he knocked on the door. then walked around to the back driveway and held the sign up there as well. The Bible passage referenced on the sign describes the apocalypse, saying believers go to heaven while non-believers are thrown into a lake of fire. The homeowners later said the incident left them shaken. The woman told the news, I'm scared to leave the house. I'm scared about the end times. It's about Judgment Day. I freaked out. I couldn't even think of anything. Police in town said this appears to be an isolated incident though. The person didn't technically commit a crime and they didn't really bother investigating into it any further. And I gotta be honest, I don't think this would really freak me out all that much either. I mean, it seems like the guy is just playing a prank. But I mean, if you're someone who believes in the devil, like wholeheartedly, I get why this might be unsettling. His final case is without a doubt the most disturbing. It happened in Dudley, England in 2023. Sharon Gordon hired a local builder named Peter Norgrove to build an extension onto her home. She met him through their church, a Jehovah's Witness congregation in town. He came across as friendly, reliable, he was deeply involved in the community, and according to her family, that shared faith played a big role in why she trusted him. Now, the job was supposed to take about 6 weeks. Instead, dragged on for 15 months. Sharon paid him a bunch of money up front, but the work barely progressed. On top of that, Norgrove kept lying about when he was actually showing up to work, so Sharon decided to start documenting everything. She kept notebooks, receipts, and installed the video doorbell because she believed he was lying about being at her house and wanted proof. On July 20th, Sharon confronted him about the delays and lies, and that argument escalated. Norgrove became furious, and he hit her 8 times in the head with a hammer. Afterward, Norgrove went home, showered, shaved, and then led a church service that same evening. And this really stuck out to the judge later, who said it was a pretty clear sign that he had zero remorse for what he did. Sharon's body was discovered the next day by friends who went to check on her. Police later watched her doorbell camera footage showing Norgrove coming out of the house with red stains on his clothes. Sharon's daughter described him as a wolf in sheep's clothing, saying he used faith as a cover to hide who he really was. Norgrove was sentenced to life in prison, with a minimum of 15 years before parole can even be considered. Up next is Satan's Bridge. This footage was uploaded to YouTube in 2008, but the clips were shot back in 1999 and 2000 by a man named Chris Childry. The video shows some very unsettling things he discovered under the State Line Bridge in Cascade, Virginia. While exploring the area, he came across a ditch filled with the remains of multiple animals, deer, dogs, and other carcasses, describing this heavy, almost nauseating smell of death in the air. Childry thought that it might have been people just clearing roadkill, but the eerie setting of the bridge, nicknamed Satan's Bridge by locals, made him wonder if something more sinister was going on. In the footage from 1999, he also filmed in daylight and found traces of black candles and stones arranged in a rough pentagram formation. Next is the Heaven's Gate exit statement tapes. These are a series of interviews filmed by the cult's leader, Marshall Applewhite, in the days leading up to the group's final actions in 1997. The footage is genuinely unsettling considering what ended up happening, which I'll get into in a sec for those not in the know. In the videos though, members speak openly about what they're planning, sharing their excitement, their nervousness, and complete belief in leaving their physical bodies behind to reach this higher plane of existence up in space. Obviously, they're completely detached from reality, right? But they speak in this calm, rational way. If you didn't know any better, you'd think they were talking about finishing school or starting some new career. You hear lines like, "We're lucky, we're fortunate, we're honored." Shortly after these interviews were recorded, their bodies were found. Members had carried out the act they described, leaving behind these tapes as their final statements. On August 10, 1984, a Cessna L-19 bird dog flown by 36-year-old James Jeb Cattle was on its way from Granby to Jeffco Airport in Colorado, with Ronald Hugh Wilmond, also 36, riding in the back. For a while, the footage, shot from a VHS camcorder mounted on the instrument panel, looks like a normal flight. But as the plane approaches rising terrain, it becomes very clear something is very wrong. Cattle hadn't accounted for the density altitude conditions that day, which made it impossible for the plane to climb fast enough. In a desperate attempt to get back to the airfield, Cattle stalled the plane 3 times while banking sharply to the right. The camera captures him yelling, and and then seconds later the plane smashes into the trees. Neither survived. The wreckage and the tape wasn't found until 3 years later, on August 23, 1987, by a pair of backpackers. The tape was badly damaged, but Colorado Deputy Sheriff Dale Wood managed to repair it, revealing the chilling final moments of that flight. On a lighter note, the footage you're seeing here is supposedly an interview with an alien said to have taken place at the S4 facility near Area 51. It was allegedly leaked by a whistleblower who goes by the name Victor. According to him, he managed to copy the footage from a top-secret recording. The clip was later included in a 1997 documentary called Area 51, The Alien Interview, which also features names like Bob Lazar. Victor narrates over the footage, carefully avoiding any direct claim that he worked at Area 51, though he insists he had a reason to be there. His voice is also altered to protect his identity because he claims he's worried about being tracked. Now, whether this is real or not, the footage has become one of the most infamous leaked alien videos on the internet. Finally, probably one of the most infamous pieces of found footage on the internet in general, grave robbing for morons. This grainy VHS tape's been around for decades. Began circulating on bootleg compilations in the 90s and early 2000s, mostly traded hand to hand and later online. Supposedly it was filmed in 1987. The tape shows a young man holding a skull and a few bones, talking about grave robbing, how to dig graves, clean bones, and sell them. He mentions names like Anthony and Poochie, but nobody knows who they are, or if any of this was even real. Nobody knows where this tape originally came from. There's no police record relating to it. Some believe it's either a homemade horror short or a staged shock video, but who knows? This could have been genuine grave robbers. In August of 2022, scientists dropped a camera into the Izu Ogasawara Trench off the coast of Japan. They were part of a decade-long study by the University of Western Australia and Tokyo University, looking for the absolute limit of where fish can survive. At 8,336 meters down, that's more than 5 miles below the surface, their camera caught something. A tiny, ghostly snailfish, a juvenile, swimming alone in the void. The pressure down there is 800 times what we experience at sea level. Now think about having 8 tons pressing down on every square inch of your body. For years, scientists believed fish couldn't survive below 8,200 meters because their proteins would just stop working. This little snailfish was swimming 136 meters past that limit. Professor Alan Jamieson, who led the expedition, had been studying these deep snailfish for over 15 years. He told the team they'd probably find the deepest fish in these Japanese trenches because the water there is slightly warmer than the Mariana Trench. A few days after filming that record breaker, they actually caught 2 snailfish in traps at 8,022 meters in the nearby Japan Trench. Those became the deepest fish ever physically captured. Until then, no fish had ever been caught below 8,000 meters. On August 30th of 2023, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's ship Okeanos Explorer was cruising over a seamount in the Gulf of Alaska when their ROV spotted something. The videographer on the live stream called it a yellow hat. Scientists on board started throwing out guesses. Was it coral, sponge, egg casing? They really didn't know what to make of it. They moved the ROV closer and noticed there was a hole or tear on one side of it, and that's when things got kind of creepy. Something either tried to get in or tried to get out. It's like the beginning of a horror movie, one of the scientists said. Another person chimed in saying, pretty sure this is how the first episode of the X-Files started. They used the ROV's suction sampler to collect it and brought it back up to the ship. Sam Candillo, the expedition coordinator, examined it and confirmed it was biological, but that's all they could really say. They still don't know what it is. They took it back to shore to be studied with more sophisticated equipment, but still nothing. It doesn't resemble any known sponge, coral, or egg casing. It might be a new species, it might be an unknown life stage of something we already know about, or could be something completely different. In September 2024, scientists dropped a baited camera lander into the Tonga Trench, the second deepest oceanic trench in the world, at 3,300 meters down. And they ended up capturing something that's been seen fewer than 20 times in history, a big fin squid. And this thing looks like it came from another planet. The squid's tentacles are 13 feet long, way longer than its entire body. They bend at right angles that look like elbows almost. In the footage you can see it slowly walking across the seafloor in these spindly appendages before it suddenly stops and pulses its fins. Professor Alan Jamieson, who collected the footage, said big fin squids aren't something you'd actively go looking for. They're species you kind of just stumble across by accident. Most documented sightings come from oil and gas companies who happen to have cameras down there for other reasons. These squids are the deepest dwelling squids known to science. The largest one ever recorded was over 20 feet long. And experts think they could grow even larger, possibly up to 26 feet. Nobody knows why they evolved these bizarre tentacles or exactly how they feed, even. Some scientists think they use them almost like a spiderweb net to capture small prey drifting by. And this one, filmed in the Tonga Trench, isn't even that big. It was probably a young squid, since its tentacles weren't as long as adults. Between January 8th and February 11th, 2024, the research vessel Falcor 2 from Schmidt Ocean Institute spent a month exploring underwater mountains off the coast of Chile. The team, led by Dr. Javier Salinas from Chile's Catholic University of the North, was surveying seamounts along the Nazca and Salas y Gomez Ridge, a chain of over 200 seamounts stretching from Chile to Easter Island. And it was worth it, because when they came back, they documented more than 100 possibly new species. Deep-sea corals, sponges, sea urchins, the size of cacti, lobsters, amphipods, and creatures so weird they just don't even have names yet. According to Dr. Salinas, we far exceeded our hopes on this expedition. You always expect to find new species in these remote and poorly explored areas, but the amount we found, especially for some groups like sponges, is mind-blowing. End quote. Using an underwater robot, they explored 10 seamounts and found that each one had a completely unique ecosystem. They also mapped over 52,000 square kilometers of seafloor and discovered 4 new seamounts that had never been documented before. The tallest one is taller than a lot of mountains on land. They named it Solito, which means alone in Spanish. On a follow-up expedition from February to April, they found 160 more species they didn't know lived in the region, and they think at least 50 of those are totally new to science.